This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
And so I'm a firm believer in family and working hard, and it's all of us on pretty much what the kids have done all their life is they've been a part of that.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now.
Welcome back to another episode of Do It for a Living. I'm Kevin Dubois. This week we've got Doug and Brad DeBerti of the new Discovery Channel show called Twin Turbos, and they also own a show called DeBerti Designs, and I think that's where a lot of their background in the racing and the cars has come from. And the show is kind of premised on Brad's racing, and then also Doug's, who is the father of the two here, and he is the one who runs the shop, and I believe they'll be able to fill in all the information on how this goes, but I watched the preview for the show, but obviously I don't believe the show has been released as of this recording yet. So, Doug, Brad, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing good.
Cool.
Doing really good.
Well, I'm glad you guys can both take some time to chat with us and kind of share us your story on your business and racing and kind of give us some insight into how the show's going to be. And so why don't you go ahead and get started first by kind of giving us a background, like what got you involved with cars, maybe your education, training, anything like that, kind of what brought you into this industry?
No, yeah, I got started, back in the day in because I'm from Butte, Montana, so we grew up pretty much having to build anything that we wanted, from a bicycle to, everything that we possibly could. I mean, we didn't have the luxury of just having anything from a store. So when I turned 15, I bought an old 1959 Chevy pickup for $200, and that's what I started with. And when I turned 18, man, I just wanted to get out of Montana so bad, so I jumped in that old clunker and headed to California and ended up in good old Bakersfield. And that's pretty much where I started my career. Met Sandy, Brad's mom, at McDonald's, because we didn't have a McDonald's. It was only like 29 cents for a cheeseburger. So when I met her, I'd get like 5 for 29 cents. No, just kidding. But yeah, so anyway, so I always wanted to do something on my own, and I really didn't have any money to do anything. And what happened was I worked at a company where I built up a little bit money where I could buy a new Chevy truck in 1990. And so here I have this truck, but I really couldn't afford accessories for it. So I started making things for it, like the front bumper and just odd and end little things.
Like an off-road truck or just a normal street truck, work truck thing? It
was just a normal half-ton Chevrolet truck. They changed the body style in 1989 and 90.
Okay.
And they went to a new rounded front end. So I would French the plate in on the front and a custom lowering kit and so many things that people would see. And then, not thinking too much of it, people started asking me if I'd do it for them. And so I did. I actually started doing stuff out of my garage, which didn't make my wife very happy, or the neighborhood, because people were coming over. So there was a shop that a guy named Arlen Curtis had, and he was a boat manufacturer, and his father actually are the first Indy cars ever come out of Curtis Craft. And so I think they felt a little sorry for me, and they had a building that was 5,000 feet, and they let me rent the front building and one bay they worked a deal out for, I think it was $600 a month, and every other month they'd raise my rent $100 till I got to $1,300. And that's pretty much how I started. But here I got this showroom, and I didn't have any money for inventory. And so I went to try to get a loan, and this guy named Jim Baldwin at the bank took me aside. He was the president, and he says, "Look, nobody's going to give you a loan. So go fill out as many Visa and MasterCards as you can in one day and send them all out. And you're going to pay a huge amount of interest rate, but cross your fingers, because that's what it's going to take for you to get your capital to start whatever you're going to start." So I did, and I ended up with 4 Visa Gold cards that were $5,000 each. And so that's what I started with. I maxed them out, and I had a little tiny showroom. Well, not little tiny, but it was 1,000 feet. And so what I did is I ordered boxes for accessories. So I'd call up the spindle company or lift kit company, and I'd order 10 of each box. And then I'd fill them with steel or weights or just junk, and I'd tape them back up, and I built a showroom out of nothing. And so when people would come into the showroom and ask for a part, I'd be like, I'd run out there and act like I've got that part in stock, and I'd be all, no, I can have it tomorrow. I just ran out of that one. And so I slowly started building the accessory store up to where I had my own inventory. And then once that got going pretty good, which took a couple years, then I started a company called Trends because I couldn't afford to do a buy-in on grills, because in accessory lines you had to do buy-ins to get products. So nobody could just open a store and get a good deal on parts. You have to actually put like a $10,000 order in. And so I started making my own grills and called them billet grills out of aluminum.
Uh-huh.
And from that point, I sold this company called California Truck that was actually up and running pretty decent. And I started a company called Trends, Trenz, in a little tiny 1,000 square foot shop. And I started making these grills by hand because I really love designing and building. And when I sold California Truck Accessories, I bought first I was at a show, and there was a lathe, a picture of a CNC lathe, they call it, that was all automated.
Uh-huh.
And it was a poster, and it said "Meet the Night Shift." And basically what it was, showing you could have this lathe and it runs 24/7 unattended.
Yeah, okay. So CNC machine. So you were doing everything manually, like a Bridgeport or something before with the billet grills?
Oh yeah. It was all drill press and literally a radial arm saw for wood I was cutting the aluminum with. Okay. And so I hung that poster up, and I thought, man, I am going to have that lathe one day. And I actually bought that same lathe when I sold the accessory store. So then from that point, man, I just started building anything I could on the automated machine. I even started making these stupid billet aluminum yo-yos. They were like weapons. I mean, but
get some mass behind them, huh?
It would make a yo-yo like every, 20 seconds. A yo-yo would come out of this machine. And with the profits from that, I just kept building accessories for cars until we built that up. We ran that for 10 years from nothing. And then I ended up probably being the largest aluminum manufacturer for automotive accessories, I think, anywhere. I mean, people were copying my products left and right. But we built that up to where we had, probably 6,000 part numbers.
Wow. Okay. So a bunch of stuff. So more than one machine then, huh?
Oh yeah. By the time I ended up selling the company, it was almost running fully automated.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we were also doing DeBerti Design. Now DeBerti Design came on where I started doing stuff for General Motors when they were doing like the Harley Davidson truck, and a lot of this stuff was just now kind of catching on with the accessory line through like the big three, Ford and Chevy and Dodge. And what I started doing is building these, what I call hype vehicles. I'd take a brand new vehicle that they had, and they would just let me run with what I wanted to do on it. And I'd just show up at the SEMA show and put it in their booth. And either you liked it or hated it. There wasn't even an in-between on these things. But the great thing about it is everyone was talking about it. So if we did an F-350, you'd be talking about this DeBerti F-350. And that's what's kind of kicked us into where we are now with Brad, is building these kind of what we call one-off hype vehicles. And DeBerti Design really is a company that we build concept car on what we like. And so what we do with the car from there is we'll throw a pretty big marketing push to it, and it'll be in usually a booth at Chevy, Ford, Dodge, whoever we're doing the work for. Mm-hmm. and we usually hype that up for about 12 months, and then we sell them. So we kind of got out of the where people could just come in and say, hey, I want this, or build me this, or build me that, because sometimes it's really difficult to do that, because when you're building one-off parts, I mean, we may work on a truck for a month and not like what we've done, and literally cut it back off and start over again.
Okay.
And it's hard to charge for that. So we got in the habit of building these hype vehicles on the design and being creative on one-off, and then selling them after the marketing push. And probably 99% of them, we don't even advertise. By the time it comes up, people will know the vehicle.
Okay.
And then we could sell it for, what we've got in it plus our profit. And it just takes about a year to do that.
Okay.
And so with that, I slowed down from doing several of these things. In the meantime, Brad, the entire time of his life, if it was daylight out, no TV, no video games.
And I used to get mad at that.
Yeah. So they never watched TV. I mean, and believe me, as soon as it became dark, they would disappear. They never watched TV. They were into video games, because the video games are, especially now.
Yeah, that's my generation too.
Yeah, what that did is it really forced them to be in the garage and learning things. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a firm believer in family and working hard, and it's all of us on pretty much what the kids have done all their life is they've been a part of that. Brad's been in the shop from working on bicycles to, oh my gosh, we even had a what we called a bicycle ministry at the church. So we'd show up and we'd go buy out Walmart's tubes and patch kits, and any of the kids that were in this huge church that didn't have dads in the military or single moms, mm-hmm. they could bring their bikes and we would fix them for free.
Oh, very cool.
All 3 services, and we did that for
a long time,
for years. So here you got these little kids out there taking bikes apart and changing tires, and so the kids have pretty much worked in everything from bikes to where we are today in the garage.
Yeah, I think I started working so young. I think it'd probably be illegal now.
Yeah.
You're
not supposed to weld at 5.
I may have had a welder when I was 3, but I mean, we'll keep that to ourselves.
What kind of time frame was that?
That's from when they were
young.
Yeah, I mean, little. I mean, even when Brad has been in the shop. He's always had something going on in the shop. I mean, he would come up with the craziest things. He'd say, Dad, can you cut this off and then weld this here? And I'd look at it and I'd think, okay. So I'd cut it off and weld it. And the next thing you know, he'd have this crazy contraption. He had this one tricycle bike, and there was 3 of them. So he had me cut the front ends off of each bike and weld them all together like a limo. And he made this thing a limo trike.
Hey, we used it every day, though.
And I look out there, and it's him in the front pedaling, 2 girls on the back, and one of his buddies standing on the bar where the 2 wheels are. And they would play on this stupid thing until they wore it out, basically.
Yeah.
But I'd look out there and I'd be laughing and thinking, where does this kid come up with this crazy stuff?
So that's your next show then. Brad's limo bike show or something, right?
So it was hilarious. So, but point being is that the boys, without being in front of that TV or video games, and with me teaching them pretty much everything from welding to cutting, at such early ages, I think that's what's inspired Brad to be where he is today.
I don't think I have as much energy as my dad, though.
Oh, he does. He just says he don't.
So, Brad, you're building things when you're young. How did that kind of transform into racing trucks? Is that kind of on the same path here?
Well, when we were growing up, we all did everything as a family, or we just didn't do it. So if one of us couldn't go snowboarding, none of us would go. Or if we couldn't all go ride dirt bikes or something, we just wouldn't do it. So we always had fun at everything that we were doing, but that consists of if we wanted to have that, my brother and I had to work for it. So we never had anything for free. So, working young in the shop, I remember I used to make like rings on the lathe when in middle school. I'd make out all these rings and I'd have all these sizes, and I'd even sell them at school. Like I was making a business when I was young because he always told us, you know, we can't, like if we want something, we have to work for it. So,
Forgot about that.
you know, with that, we did everything. I mean, we would work hard and then we'd go snowboarding. We'd work hard, then dirt biking. And then, I mean, you name it, we'd all do. And I think just from all the culmination of everything that we've done, you know, I didn't know it, but it was for the future of teaching me how to race, you know, vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I never raced anything in my life till just a few years ago. And, we saw an off-road commercial on TV and we're like, hey, let's go check that out. And so, we went to Arizona and we're walking through the pits and we're like, holy cow, this is insane. And just walking through, seeing all the big rigs and people working on their trucks and all the different stuff there, it was just awesome. So from that point on, we kind of just got, you know, the race feeling. And
Actually, we put money down on a car.
yeah,
Really? The first trip to a race?
Hold on. We put money down on it, but we couldn't buy it
yeah.
Why
yeah.
is that?
because we had to go home and sell one of the cars to get it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we had to sell actually a lot of things. We had
Two cars.
We had a motorhome, and my mom didn't like us selling that, but we had to sell that to get the off-road truck.
Okay.
But no, I mean, that's kind of where it started. I mean, that was, oh gosh, when was that? 2015.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's fairly recently then, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, not too long ago. So that kind of went into, we got this truck, and we're very mechanical, and racing costs a lot of money, especially to have someone prep it.
Uh-huh.
So I mean that's where the costs come in. So what we would do is we prepped our own race truck, and what my dad and I would do is we'd just go out, and it was him and I, and we would just go out and really practice, try and figure it out. And this isn't something I've ever done, and jumping into like the national series is pretty much like saying, hey, I just learned how to play football. Can we go play NFL?
Right.
And so I had to learn really, really fast. And how we did that is my dad and I, we would just practice.
Where do you practice? Where do you
and-
practice those trucks at? I mean, the only thing I could even think of is either like in the desert or at a track, huh?
Yeah, at tracks, and you have to rent the track. So the nearest places for us, since we live in Pismo Beach, is Lake Elsinore, California, and Glen Helen.
Glen Helen. I've actually
And
been
so-
there. So.
Yeah, so pretty cool. But I mean, long story short, we had an absolute blast every single time we went out, and our goal was, hey, let's go at this as having as much fun as we can, and I'm gonna do the absolute best I can, and anything that happens, good or bad, it's always a plus because we get to do this, and that's how our whole family. And so the first two national races, I don't know how, but I won both of them.
Well, we always play the what if game, and we did work hard to learn it quickly, like in a 6-month period. And we would split the track rental because it's $1,000 to rent the track at either track. But we'd get 4 or 5 people to go in, and then it was only a couple $100.
Okay, so that's similar to like going road racing. I mean, you can get a group of people and get 10 people out there, and it's a couple $100 each. So that's
so
not
it was
outrageous.
affordable. And we'd show up the night before and sleep at the track, and save as much money as we could so we could get track time. And Brad worked hard, man. He dedicated himself, his diet. It wasn't just, hey, I could just go out and drive. I'll say he is nonstop to this day. He only eats certain food. He is so focused and determined, and he's got the drive and the energy and to push forward to do what he did. And we always play this game called the what if, and so here we are, and we're nervous because it's just me and Brad, and most of these teams are made up of 10 people on a team, and we were laughing, thinking, okay, what if we get top 10? Because there's like 32 trucks.
And I'm like, Dad, come on, don't put that pressure on me.
Yeah, and I go, I know, but let's just what if. And he went out there and got first place.
Well, we qualified first by a lot.
Yeah.
And then
We started first.
Yeah, we started first and then won. And then everyone was surprised, but everyone was like, all right, well, it's because you started first.
Yeah.
Well, they said we must be cheaters.
Yeah, you guys are cheaters. You guys started first. That's why you won. So, but again, we're not going to let nothing distract us. We're focused to have fun and just really just push to do the best I can. And so the second day, I qualified first again, and they inverted me to sixth.
Field, yep.
So now I'm kind of
okay.
like mid-pack, and I ended up winning that race by longer. And after that, I mean, that's kind of what changed everything. I mean, when we came back, I'm not kidding you, there was like 100 people like in our pit that I didn't even know anyone's names, nothing, because we were nobodies. And so that's kind of what jump started it. And from there we just kept working so hard. I mean, like my dad kind of touched on it. I mean, I think a big difference is I'm so into wanting to race and wanting to perform that, everything I do is around racing. So, I mean, when I first got the truck, I went out and we practiced for the first time, and I was winded. So since that day, I came back and I started immediately on a crazy diet, and I lost 30 pounds before my first race. And I was just, in my mind, I just knew I was ready. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what, helps
physical training, not just diet, but you've been exercising and, working out, whatever.
Physical and mental. There was a book that was given to him by Brian Deegan, and which helped mentor him in the off-road. And Brian even made the comment, look, your body's one thing, but your mind is so strong. And so we don't even really like to read because our minds are wandering. And it's hard to retain stuff because we're thinking about something else while we're reading. But man, Brad made all these notes, and he would read these notes before he ever went out on the track. And then somehow he suckered his mom into massaging his shoulders before each race. And that's how he would start the race. He would calm, we couldn't have any negativity in the pits, whatever was going on. And so it was a lot of mind and physical and his drive to do what he's done so far.
Yeah, and I there's just, people look at racing, they're like, oh, that's cool, but there's so much that goes into it. Like, the books that I would read, I would make my own notes, and that's all I knew in my head. And I just knew, I'm there to, again, just to have fun with the family. And my next thing is obviously I want to win. So with that, it was hardcore. Yeah, I mean, my dad touched on it, but anyone with a bad attitude wasn't allowed in our pit, because at the end of the day, that's going to affect me being the driver, because if there's any negativity, it gets in your mind. So there's just so many steps that we went on racing that once I got the flavor of the first 2 rounds of when I won, I just, we didn't want to stop. So
yeah, I remember one race where he got knocked to the back, spun out, I think 3 times, and he's literally up in the front. And he worked his way back up 3 times. The third time he worked his way back up, I think he finished the race at 6th place. And he came back into our pit area, and I'm like rooting for him. I mean, it was unbelievable that he was able to do that 3 times. And our guy that built our transmission came in, he goes, and he's mad that Brad got taken out, and he's looking at me, and I'm jumping up and down. He goes, how can you be excited? I'm like, how can I not? He went from the back to the front 3 times, and he finished 6th. And he just looks at us, he goes, something's wrong with you guys, and walks off. So, it's about attitude. It ain't even about the winning. I mean, I love to win, and Brad loves to win, but there's a lot of fun in it if you go at things differently and focus on
competition. Competition in general is fun, as long as you don't take it too seriously, right?
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to win different all the time. Mm-hmm. But, man, how many people would love to get in that truck and do that?
I would.
Who wouldn't? I mean, we're lucky.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, though. I want to – obviously, I want to win. That's my first mindset.
And me too.
That's my first mindset. But it doesn't always play out that way. And when it doesn't play out that way, you just got to have a fun attitude, because – we work so hard to be able to do this. I mean, that's what matters at the end of the day. At the end of the day, even if I got last, we're out there with the family at the track, just having an absolute blast. So
cool. And Brad is also his own pit crew. I mean, when we're done with the race or anything that's going on, I mean, I've watched him in his driving suit get out because our transmission blew, and we're all underneath the truck taking the transmission out, and he's in as a race suit, and we're underneath there. So when the truck comes back, we've learned to completely disassemble and rebuild that truck every single time. So Brad knows every part of that vehicle that he's working on, which is important. And not only that, it helps Brad as a racer to understand what all those components do by knowing everything in his truck. Most racers don't work on their own stuff. They show up, jump in, and drive. Where we have to make it affordable is we have to do all the work.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, it's fun. It's not like, oh gosh, we got to work on the truck. You know, it's fun to try to find cracks in the frame or spindles or what's wrong with the motor. You know, all that stuff is just learning that once you learn the fundamentals of all that, you just carry that on pretty much in anything with an engine.
Yeah, with the truck, I mean, it would come back. We would come back from a race, and again, it was my dad and I. So, what I did is I didn't want to have a failure ever, and we've never had a failure racing when we were prepping the truck. And that truck would come back, and it would literally come down to a skeleton. We'd pull everything out of it. I would have like 115 question checklist just on torquing bolts, magnaflexing axles, spindles, checking the ring and pinion. I mean, you name it, we would check. Everything has a bolt torque, and everything gets marked, and so it's the same exact truck every single time I go out. So that's what makes it fun. Is not only do we race, we prep our own stuff and have an absolute blast doing it too.
So a very systematic approach to it, not just winging it every time you go out, huh?
Yeah, no, we
you wing it, you ain't gonna go. I mean, these trucks are jumping 200 feet in the air, and they're coming down hard. And man, if you don't prep that truck correctly, a lot of these trucks don't even finish. I mean, in some of these big races, 50% of them have failure on parts or broken bolts, or a lot of people don't torque every single bolt. But a bolt is made to be torqued. If you over tighten a bolt, it'll stretch and snap. So you got to be extremely, if you're extremely thorough on everything that you're doing and do things like they're meant to be, then the failures are not gonna come your way, because you ain't gonna have any.
Yeah, at least be much less common.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't think of one failure that we had that was ever my fault. I mean, as far as mechanical, we've never had a failure. But things happen when you're jumping 200 feet and there's 4 people around you and you're playing bumper cars in the air.
Yeah.
I mean,
stuff breaks. Maybe not from installation, but from collisions and.
Oh yeah, no, stuff breaks. And to give you an idea of how far you're actually jumping is, I could actually control the truck in the air just with the throttle and the brake. I mean, that's how much air time you have. I mean, I could hit the brakes and set the front end down, 3 feet. So it's
controlling your pitch angle.
Yeah. So imagine, driving an RC car. You could control that RC car in the air, and with the trucks, it's the same exact thing.
Actually, that's how he learned how to control the truck. Is we were playing with RC cars, and he was hitting the brake on the RC car, and the front end was going down.
Yeah.
And he goes, I wonder if we could do that in the truck. So we put a brake in there that was a handbrake that just locked the back wheels up. And he'd fly off this jump, and if the wind took his nose up, he'd pull the lever and lock the rear wheels up, and it would throw the nose down, and then he'd rev up the wheels before we hit the ground, so he was still going the same speed on the tires, so it didn't snap the axles.
Very interesting. I was going to say, the coming out of nowhere and doing so well, I wonder if any of it's attributed to like the what do they call it, the Gran Turismo generation, right? Where if after it got dark and he went and played video games, if like that kind of racing on video games helps it all for the real world.
I would say for me, it was more because my dad had me doing so many things. Mm-hmm. The video games were just fun because I used to torment my brother, and I was always better than him. And so I'd love to watch him get mad.
Well, what Brad's not telling you is he's got a weird knack for picking stuff up quickly. And so he would play the video game, and he never played them a lot, but for some reason, when he would jump on a video game, he's just got that, I don't even know what you call it, but it's a weird coordination that he could just do it. And if his brother was more into video games, so he would play them a lot, and then Brad would come in, never play a game before, and then then Brad would beat his brother, and his brother would flip. I remember the game Madden.
Oh yeah.
He taught Brad how to play Madden like in 30 minutes, and him and his buddies have been playing it for a year. And Brad went in, beat his brother, and his brother took the controls and threw him out the room.
Oh, he would get mad, but I mean that was fun. But touching back to your question, I think literally, I mean we did so much as a family that I would just always take it to the next level. You know, we would ride dirt bikes, for example, and I wouldn't want to stop. So my dad, you know, took the acreage we had on our property in Bakersfield and made a track. And, you know, I literally probably would ride dirt bikes for 6 hours a day.
Oh, okay. That would certainly help too, right?
Yeah. So I was on dirt bikes, and then, you know, on UTVs back in the day. They aren't how they are now, but I would take the UTVs to the next level. And, you know, when we go out to the beach camping, all of our friends would be in UTVs that are my dad's age. And, you know, I was so young. I was like, Dad, I want to follow you guys. He's all, well, we'll see. So what he did is he made me a booster seat. That literally I was so young. I had to have a booster seat to even reach the steering wheel and pedals, and I would be right in the mid pack with all these grown-ups, and everyone would always shake their head and be like, holy cow, you know, how is this kid staying up with us? Because I mean, they're all in competition trying to outrun each other, and, you know, I'm right there, right in the middle with all of them. So I think that's where my racing started. Even though I didn't know I was going to race, I think it started with all the fun
experience. Yeah, doing off-road stuff. May not be racing, but you're certainly getting familiar with vehicle control, handling, that sort of thing, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were, again, you know, we did everything as a family. So when we went to go vacation, we would have an absolute blast. And all my dad's buddies are just like us. I mean, guys always want to win. So when we'd go out, I would just stay right with them. And, you know, I would beat a lot of them, and they'd be like, all right, this isn't cool. You know, I have a booster seat.
Especially when he would unduct tape the 2x4s on the bottom of his feet.
So Doug, how has location played a role in your success? I mean, obviously being in California is kind of a hotbed of automotive stuff. Has that been helpful in your success?
Yeah, I think for the retail store, it was really good because we had a broader audience than somewhere like Butte. I think Butte, Montana's got 20,000 people, and, you know, Bakersfield had 500,000. Mm-hmm. Once I started manufacturing, or once I got the flavor of how good retail was in one city, is when I just kept trying to think, what can I make to go, you know, all over the United States. And that's when trends came on pretty strong, and I think Bakersfield really helped with that. But from there, once we went and we're selling parts all over the United States, then you could probably almost put, you know, a company anywhere once you can reach that level. But yeah, I think location for me in the beginning was huge to be in Bakersfield.
Were you selling it through internet or email or mail order catalogs? How are you selling stuff then?
I don't think he had internet.
Well, you ready for this? Okay, internet was just coming on. So now remember I told you I don't like to read? So I got a library card.
Uh-huh.
You did?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And I went down to the library and got every phone book that I could get, whether it was on Microfiche or wherever it was. And we would I would check them out, and we would go through the yellow pages, and we'd write down every address to every accessory store in every state, city that we could possibly get. And me, my wife, and her sister would make these labels up every single night. And I had this goofy little, I think it was a red piece of paper with maybe 8 part numbers on it. And we would just mail them out.
Okay.
And really, that's how I started, you know, selling all over the United States.
So boots on the ground, cold calling, essentially, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
And to date you here, I'm sure Brad has never even heard of a microfiche or used one before, huh?
Well,
he thinks we're talking about a fishing trip.
That's what I'm thinking too, right?
Actually, when he said that, I looked at him weird because, yeah, I don't even know what that is.
He's like, is that a small fish? I remember catching salmon.
Yeah.
At the library, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you guys ever really doubted yourself and, like wondered how am I going to overcome this feeling and move forward?
No, I don't. I don't think so.
The cool thing is me and Brad's minds think a lot. So I think when we set out to do something, we're going to make it happen.
It's almost a challenge for us just to know that we could do it. It's just going to be a lot of work, But
and it'll change. Sometimes, our plan will change, but it'll change to adapt to what we're trying to get at the end. So I think that's why we could work together. I can't really work together with nobody else. We butt heads a little bit here and there because we're kind of both high strung. Him a little bit more than me.
More you?
No. but when we set out to do something, we do. I think we make it happen.
Okay.
And I don't know how else to put it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's sometimes kind of scary, but we manage to just keep pushing.
So you're not really risk adverse. You will do things if you want to do it, sort of thing, right?
I think
it depends.
Yeah, I think it is a risk still. We do get nervous. I mean, we try to understand what will happen if it doesn't work.
Okay.
But at the same time, we push and we give everything we have to make it work.
It's not like we're okay. Let's try and make it work 70%.
No.
If we're doing something, it's all or nothing. So I think we approach it with a different mindset. That once we start something, we know we have to finish it.
Okay. So what's the worst experience you guys have had in business and or racing?
Well, I have a bunch. I mean, when you start with nothing and you keep going all the directions I've gone, I can think of one that still haunts me, and I don't know why. I guess it's not really bad, but I assumed in business a couple times, but this one time I was approached to do the LA Auto Show, and it was about 12 years ago, and the guy told me that there's like 1.8 million people that go through the auto show. And so in my mind, my company is doing real good trends. Everybody that was buying our product was excited, our customers. And anytime I'd print shirts, I mean, I would unload those shirts to my customers, almost overnight. But keep in mind, my customer base was like 1,000.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking, okay, we got 1.5 million people. So I figured out all the numbers, and I wanted to get as many shirts as I could to sell at the LA Auto Show, because I'm a manufacturer, so I really don't want to sell parts and compete with my retail guys that are selling my parts. Mm-hmm. So I went to the LA Auto Show, and I bought. All I remember is there was like a truck that pulled up as big as a C train. And I didn't realize I ordered that many shirts, but I ordered them from a place called Andy T's, and I couldn't afford the shirts. So I told him my business plan in my mind, and I said, look, every day that I'm selling shirts down there, I'm going to send you money for the shirts. And so I gave him a deposit, and when I got there, they didn't tell me like 1 million of the people that went were like 5 and under. I didn't sell nothing.
Stuck with the shoulder shirts.
Oh, I was never so sick for a week. And so what I did is I started selling my parts cheaper than what I was selling them to my customers, because I had no choice, because I couldn't pay for the shirts. I'll tell you how bad it is. I still have shirts. Right now, I still got 2 boxes left of these shirts from that long ago. So anyway, needless to say, I had so many damn shirts, I didn't know what to do with them.
You never had to go buy another one again, huh?
No, I still got some. Send me what size you are.
Great work shirts. I wear a large.
I wore a lot of them.
Oh gosh, I filled a whole almost C train up when it came. That's how many I thought I was going to sell. So what that taught me is don't ever assume again. Yeah. And it was a good lesson, but. I don't know why I remember that one. I don't know if that's a good one. I got a bunch like that. Well, not a bunch like that, but that one hurt.
We've heard some really great worst experiences, but that one is definitely one of the top ones, because most people are very business-ish. Like they have like, I took on a big project and got a $50,000 credit card chargeback, which totally sucks, but it's not that funny because it happens to everybody. I can't say I've ordered 1 million T-shirts and not been able to sell any of them because I've never had to order that many T-shirts. So
I have one more quick one if you want to hear.
Go right ahead.
So when I first started the California Truck Store, I was doing a Dodge Dakota for Dodge, and that was going to go in their booth. So all I needed is a vehicle, and I got all the accessories to put on it for free. So I went down to the local dealer, and I said, hey, if you give me a Dodge Dakota to use for the SEMA show, I'll put all these parts on it, which added up to, I think, like $25,000. And I said, the only thing you have to pay for is about $2,000 for labor. All the parts are free. So they gave me a truck to bring to SEMA, so we used it for 4 weeks, brought it to the show, and I came back and I dropped the truck off with an invoice for $2,000. And I never got a check. And so I called back up there, and the owner of the place says, can you come down? So I went down there, and he says, I'm going to teach you a lesson that you'll never forget. And I said, what's that? And he goes, no PO, no payment. And I said, well, give me a PO. And he goes, no, it doesn't work that way. Before you ever work on a dealer truck, if you don't have a PO, you will not get paid. You're not getting paid on this truck. And I had every terrible thought in my mind going through my head. Like, I don't even want to tell you the thoughts I had in my mind. All I know is I couldn't even think. And the next day, I guess they sold that Dodge, and one of the salesmen called me, and he says, hey, the customer bought the Dodge Dakota you did. Can you put a smaller tire on it? And I'm like, absolutely no charge. He drops the truck off, and I stripped that truck down, took every part I had off it, and I put these old tires on it. And I said, truck's ready. And he come back to pick up the truck, and of course the salesman's tripping. And he looks at the truck, he goes, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? And he goes, where are all the parts? And I'm all, what parts? Do you have an invoice for something? And he looked at me, he goes, what are you talking about? And I said, hey, go see so-and-so and ask him if they have a paid invoice for the parts you're talking about. Because I have no idea what you're talking about. No invoice, no parts. And so literally that guy taught me a lesson I'll never forget on POs, 100%. But at the same time, I got to tell you, to this day, I still feel good about that lesson.
So how did it end up? Did they pay you, or did you put the car back together, or what?
No, I sold all those parts. They were worth way more than $2,000.
Oh, interesting. That's a good one.
God, why would people do that?
People are assholes. That's why. So
that's crazy.
Okay, so what is something you guys are doing right now that has you fired up?
Well, for me, what keeps me fired up is Brad, because Brad is so into the racing and the TV show and everything we do that you could just imagine what it does to me. It makes me want to get up at 4:30, and he calls me Turbo and Hard Charger and all these energetic names, but it's because he's so excited about it that it makes me so excited. And he'll say, oh, come on, Dad. And I'll go, no, think about it. If you weren't fired up on everything we're doing, how can I be excited about myself? I couldn't. So I think for me, it's, I've done a lot of hard work and get to where we can do what we do right now. But for me to see Brad this excited, it just gets me, it just keeps me going. I'm ready to get off this call right now and go do something.
No, I'm just excited about the show. It's for the amount of TV I have watched, it's always, everyone either races or everyone either builds. So I'm excited for this because it's
a little bit of both, huh?
A little bit of both, and it's full family fun,
challenging. It's a huge challenge. Beyond challenge.
Yeah, we have a fun team, and more importantly, it's all real. But before the show happened, we were doing all this anyway. So now that there's just cameras filming what we do. So this is just 100% our lives, and we haven't had to change really anything. So I'm excited about the show to see what people think, because it's a different show. It has some drama, but it's not like drama to where my dad and I are hating each other or anything. It's drama, with some of our employees when they get done doing something, and my dad and I want to change it after they've been working on it for a week.
Right.
So it's a whole different approach, I think, and it's just really family fun. So that's what I'm excited about.
Okay, so let's take a pause for a second here and hear a word from our sponsors. We all know owning a shop is difficult, so we created My Shop Assist to help you manage the various jobs. Whether you run a machine shop, a performance tuning shop, build off-road trucks, or even do powder coating, My Shop Assist can help you. It is completely online and will help you schedule the jobs, log time on each task, track parts orders, and take pictures of the work. You can even export your jobs from My Shop Assist into QuickBooks as invoices. So if you're interested to improve operations at your shop, check out myshopassist.com to start your 30-day free trial. All right, so Doug, go ahead and tell us a little bit about it. How big is the shop you're in? Do you guys own it? Do you rent it?
Well, actually, me and Brad own the business.
Okay.
And we're in about 10,000 square foot.
Okay.
And right now, the business is made up of that we like to design and build stuff that is not out there, and really that's been my expertise from since I started working on vehicles is design and one-off parts. So most of the parts we make, they don't exist. We don't like copying anybody, and I'm talking about from full design concept of a vehicle, whether it be a car, truck, or it could be a UTV. It depends on what we're doing, and or parts that we're building.
Okay.
So what we ultimately like to do is build a vehicle that may be new, and most of them are newer vehicles because Brad's generation is about new school muscle. The old school 55 Chevys and 69 Camaros. These kids can care less about them. They'd take a twin turbo Mustang or Camaro or something new right now any day over an older vehicle. So it's fun for me because everything is a new vehicle. So we'll bring in a new vehicle and we try to do a vehicle that's not out yet. So we're able to work with the big three and get like when the new Raptor body style came out, we were able to get that vehicle. And with Brad's inspiration on his racing and on what we like to build as one-off, we put together a truck that he actually got top 10 builder at SEMA, which is almost impossible to do. And so that's what makes our business fun is we could build these vehicles that don't exist. We market them for approximately 12 months, and then we sell them. So we're able to enjoy them for the time that we have them, and then we bring the next ones in. And that's our favorite way to do business, and our platform of our business has allowed us to do the business like that, versus having someone come in and say, okay, I want this, I want this, I want that. Because sometimes for us, guys that design, it's hard for us just to bolt on someone else's part as we'd rather make it.
Okay. And have you ever written a formal business plan for this? Or is it just have you just like from experience done it?
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to do that.
And how many employees do you have?
Right now, we've got about 6 really good fabricators, and those 6 fabricators are like having 20 people. I mean, they're very good. We got a really good team.
And do you find it difficult to manage all them, or do you have somebody do that for you?
No, me and Brad pretty much manage everybody, and it's a little bit difficult because the personalities are all over the place. So once you understand the personality, then depending on what we're doing, and we know 2 personalities clash, we never put them 2 together, and so we're able to. I think we have a really good crew by doing that. But it's like anything. Sometimes it gets a little difficult because not everybody's running around hyper like me and Brad all the time and laughing.
More like you. I'm not as hyper.
What? That's why they call you Twin Turbo.
Okay, and how many hours a week are you guys working?
Oh, God. What's a week?
No, our week's usually 7 days. I mean, we're
12 hours probably every day.
We're a minimum of 12 hours a day.
Okay.
My dad and I.
And is it out of passion or necessity? Because it sounds like it's out of passion. You guys just love doing it, so you're there all the time.
Well,
right?
It's not really work for us, to be honest with you. We, like I said before, the cameras ever came, this is what we do. So every day is pretty much actually not working. So if
it doesn't feel like you're having to do it. So at 12 hours would be a lot to someone if you have to sit there. But we don't. Yeah, we don't think that way. I think it's like you just said. It's more out of passion and the thrill, and we know what's coming at the end. So it just kind of keeps you going. And we got so many things going on with the show, and it does take a lot to film because you have to stop and wait. But the exciting thing is people are going to be able to see what we do. And I think, the show hasn't come out yet. So I think for us, the anticipation of that first airing, and, I'm actually scared to death.
And so you guys are working on all these projects. Are you spending your time like mostly doing the work, or do you manage the business and, like look for growth? And is that part of what you're doing?
We don't really look for growth. I think me and Brad both manage the company equally because I will do one thing is I try to get as many parts and everything in quickly as we can because the projects we're having to punch out a little bit quicker, and Brad will manage more of the shop and we kind of go back and forth. But I don't look at it any different as we probably pretty much do the same thing. Some he's on social media, so of course a lot of people hit him up and say, okay, can you use this? Can you use that? So a lot of parts I'll order, and a lot of parts he'll order if we need certain things, whether it's exhaust systems or tuners or, even down to the turbos. Like he brought the turbo guy in, I bring the blower guys in because those are my guys from way back. So I think we split pretty much our duties are split, and periodically we get overwhelmed and ornery, and we might have a little slapping contest without the slapping, but I walk one way, he walks the other because he knows he'll get beat up.
Yeah. And the difference too with our show is him and I, my dad and I, we are the builders. So we're not just the voice, we're out there doing everything. Okay. So that's what makes it fun too is, we manage and we build all of our own stuff.
And what are you guys using to manage the shop? Is there any like particular software or like, using QuickBooks? What do you guys give us kind of like the boring details of running your shop?
Pretty much just both our minds.
Yeah.
Really nothing.
Most our stuff is anything computer related. Would be CAD stuff, whether we're using Mastercam or, we'd like to get into like some of the other programs like SolidWorks and stuff that's different. When you're building a complete vehicle that we build as we go. Like we'll come up with a concept, but that concept, as a good example, one of the builds we're doing right now is completely different than what we started out to do. And so and what happens is when you're builders like us that are inventing, things change once you tear something apart and you're going back together. That's why it would be hard to build a really cool vehicle for someone that wanted to come in and kind of dictate what you're doing, because everybody thinks different, and we're more creative, and I think that's why we've been more successful, is because we are the guys that people will copy the stuff off of.
Okay, so tell us how did this your shop transition into having a show about it? How did that work out?
I think just because we just build the crazy vehicles that aren't out there, or if there is something like it, ours has a whole different twist that people just want it, whatever it is. So, our one-off builds are just like my dad said when he used to build a long time ago, you either love them or you absolutely hate them, because you don't know really what to think about it, but regardless, you're going to talk about it. Everyone's going to be like, did you guys see that DeBerti build that those guys did? That's stupid, or, that's awesome. But at the end of the day, they're talking about it. So I think that's, that's kind of how it's come to this. It's been crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about the SEMA show, because the SEMA show is built up of all kinds of talents. And even when we go to the SEMA show, our builds people might hate, and other builds, we're not too excited about when we look at them. But if you understand the craftsmanship from all the different people all over the world, I mean, everybody there thinks they've got the best build. So when we go to the show, we look at the vehicles And we're thinking, how did they do that? I mean, half of them I wouldn't even drive, or I wouldn't even be seen in. But when you really look at what some of the stuff they put together, it's like, how did they do that?
Yep.
And and they probably say the same thing about our stuff. So I enjoy looking at all the different things, and so does Brad. Whether you like it or not, we'll sit there and look at some people's builds, and we're thinking, holy cow, that is actually pretty neat.
And that's why we have such a variety of the builds we're doing. Like when the show comes out, you'll see it's from one side of the field to the next. I mean, it's never the same thing. We're always constantly wanting to do different things that we'll see and we'll be like, man, that's cool, but if we did it this way, I think it would put a different twist. So like when him and I go to SEMA, our favorite thing to do is just my dad and I, we just walk around, we'll take pictures of the things we like, and we're like, let's remake that, but our way.
Yeah, and the only thing that drives me crazy about the SEMA show is unfinished cars. I cannot stand when they bring cars there unfinished.
Well, with our line of work, they wouldn't allow our cars to be in the big booth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually outside, right?
Yeah.
Well, the SEMA show, and the other great thing about the SEMA show that people don't know is that show is put together for us to keep building the stuff that we're able to build, because every dollar that SEMA makes goes into a fund, and SEMA show actually goes to bat for people that are into customization. And right now, as we speak, they're trying to shut it down where you can't even change the factory rims and tires out on vehicles.
Well, people, not.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's all these people trying to get all these aftermarket accessories that you cannot do, and without the SEMA show, that stuff would be passed, and you wouldn't have body kits and being able to bolt on more horsepower. And if SEMA didn't exist, none of this, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
Yeah, they're there to fight for us to be able to customize cars. So it's a huge organization that is awesome. I mean, I never knew until we actually got in and dug into it. So it's actually pretty cool. I mean, that's what the whole show is. It's about innovative and, keeping the generations going of building crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a SEMA garage where if you have a part that you made, you could bring it in there, they'll scan it for you and give you all the geometry, and you could go have those parts made. Or they have printers that if you're making something, like when we did the Raptor, I gave them a file for the little flares inside the fenders, and they made them for me right there. They have emission controls there. I mean, they have so many things to help the aftermarket people like us. I mean, if you talk about a great organization, they really, I don't know why they don't push and tell everybody that, but really that's what the SEMA show is about. But I agree, unfinished vehicles, jumping back, there's nothing more mad that makes me than unfinished vehicle.
Yeah.
I saw a few vehicles there that drive lines were hanging down, like they weren't even connected or anything.
There was some that didn't even have one.
I'm like, are you serious?
Yep. Yeah, I've been to SEMA 5 times now, I think, or so, and I've been a SEMA member the entire time. But yeah, I agree. They have a lot of valuable things to offer shops like us. So, Brad, I wanted to touch on a couple things with your racing operation. It sounds like everything has been self-funded through your guys' shop. Is that not the case? You didn't reach out and get tons of sponsors and using prize money to continue on?
Well, the thing is I didn't have the experience, and I wasn't able to reach out because it'd be like reaching out and saying, yeah, sure. So what do you do? And I would have nothing.
Right.
So what we did is, which I didn't understand at the time, and I understand now, is my dad would put all these logos on the truck that we wanted sponsors from. And I was always like, Dad, why aren't you doing that? He's always, Brad, just wait. They'll come around. And so we had a truck that had logos on it, and we didn't have any sponsors. In fact, even when we started racing, I was buying used tires. So from the race teams that would, run their tires for, one race and take them off, we would buy them for half the price. So
$50.
Yeah.
Some scrubs, huh?
Yeah. So we went out there literally with no sponsor.
And used tires.
And, when we, made that statement on both days, it was like all those people, I didn't understand it when my dad was doing it, but all the people that were on the car, all of them called us, and they're like, all right, so yeah, we'll sponsor you. So after that, it's, that's what's helped. But yeah, it's been 100% self-funded by my father and I. Just, we really do a lot of different things. I mean, from remodeling houses to, cars or whatever it takes to, try and make a living so I could keep racing.
Okay. And I don't know if all our audience understands, like, many of our guests are coming from the import world, where if you go to a race, there's very few people actually spectating, so there's no money in it. It's just people doing it because they like it. I have been to one of the, I guess, truck races at that Glen Helen off-road park, whatever it's called, and it is jam-packed with people. The stands are filled. There are people walking around the pits the whole time. There are tons of people. So, I mean, for sponsors, that's actually a valuable return, getting on the fastest trucks there. Is that not the case? I mean, there's so many people watching it. I believe that is a valuable investment.
Yeah, when I started, I feel it was the biggest it ever was. I mean, there was so many trucks racing, you actually had to qualify to even race. And there was people everywhere. I think there's still a lot of people in it, but with everything, I think, spectators come and go. I don't think it's as big as it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, at the time, I think we joined the off-road racing at the biggest time that it was. So yes, there was a lot of spectators. I mean, it was crazy.
Okay. And what's your current goal with racing, and what are you looking to do? Because you had a really nasty accident, and it like nearly killed you, and you're obviously talking like you're getting back into it and getting involved with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have so much fun with racing. It's just, my goal has always been to race NASCAR.
Okay.
And so we got into the truck racing, thinking that, hey, that this may put our name on the map, which it definitely did. And that was the goal. My first season ever racing, I was so far ahead with points to win the championship until my crash in Mexico. And, I got taken out. It wasn't even my fault. And the truck rolled 7 times, and man, I went for a ride, and yeah, I got pretty messed up. I broke all the blood vessels in my eyes, sprained my neck, compressed vertebrae in my back, bruised my tailbone. I mean, it just keeps going on. I mean, and what happened was I was put out, and I wasn't able to race to keep my points. I mean, all I wanted to do for the rest of the years is maintain consistent, and I would have literally been the first ever rookie to ever win a championship that's come from nothing. So that was my goal. And but you know what, things happen, and it's racing, and you're taking a chance. So we've taken a break, and I'm wanting to get back into it. And I think the asphalt is a whole different level as far as viewership, because you have so many spectators, and that's basically where I got to start. The biggest thing is they say I'm old because these kids racing asphalt literally start when they're like 6 years old.
Yeah, go-karts,
so,
right?
Yeah, and go-karts. So for me starting, I'm like, hey, I want to race NASCAR. It's like kind of like how I started 2 years ago. It's like, hey, let's go race the highest level of off-road racing. It's the same exact thing, but I just believe, if we have the right people behind us and with the right equipment and the right team, you can make anything happen. And, especially because I'm 150% on board, I want it to happen. So starting in asphalt at the lowest level, I mean, that's where I have to start. I mean, I'm so far behind what these kids train for their whole lives. I have a lot to catch up on, but, that's okay. I mean, I was the same exact way in off-road. I believe if you have a lot of hard work, just like with our business, you could make anything happen.
So do you guys have like a 1 or 5 year plan for the racing or the show? The racing, the business, or the show? Do you have kind of a direction to go with everything?
We've had a direction, and that's always been, if I could ever even get fortunate enough to get in an asphalt car. But we really, our day changes 50 times, before it's over. So, we may think, we're going one direction 1 minute, but then it's the other. So, but the thing that's always stuck is, NASCAR. So being able to work towards that is definitely the goal. I think with the vehicles, our goal has been the same since I've been a kid, is just to build the craziest stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't necessarily we have a 1 or 5 year term goal. I think the goal is to one day be in NASCAR, and that takes a lot, and just to build crazy stuff.
Okay. So how do we connect with you guys and your show and your company?
Yeah, I'm always on Instagram. I'm kind of new to Facebook, but yeah, my Instagram's just at Brad DeBerti. I'm on that daily. My dad is too. He doesn't have Facebook. I just taught him how to work social media. So
okay. Well, he'll have to teach you how to use a microfiche. So
Exactly.
yeah. No, but I'm on Instagram a lot. We're always doing updates on there. But yeah, like I said, I just created a Facebook too. So
cool. Well, I want to thank both of you for taking some time to talk to us, and wish you good luck on your show and the racing and the business.
Yeah, and just keep in mind Wednesday, February 28th at 10 on Discovery Network.
Okay,
You
and
gotta
what's the
first
date
show.
that it starts on?
It's not this or the following Wednesday, February 28th at 10 o'clock.
Perfect.
Twin turbos.
Got it. Well, what we'll do is we'll tell everybody that's listening to the show, and we'll make sure that everybody tunes into it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app. Tap the subscribe button. When you subscribe, you help us gain momentum and attract more high-level